Everybody. So today is the 21st day of the month. Let's get into the 21st chapter of Proverbs. This is your spiritual nugget. So this chapter emphasizes the sovereignty of God and the value of righteousness over mere outward appearance. Okay, so we're tearing down the pride and wickedness, right? And we're putting on praise of diligence, justice, and humility. All right. So some of the popular scriptures for this chapter is 21:1. Which is the king's heart is the hand of the Lord. He directs it like a water course wherever he pleases. So, when the king is moving, imagine God moving, okay? Especially if he's doing it rightly. Okay, Proverbs 21:2. A person may think their ways are right, but the Lord weighs the heart. Okay, I see what you're doing. Don't be out here thinking that I don't know, because I know. That's what God says to us, right? 21:3. Do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. All right. So he don't care about your money, all that stuff you give, and all that stuff you bring into him. He cares about your heart, right? So two other verses is chapter 20, 21, and 23. Those who guard their mouths and their tongues keep themselves from calamity. You ain't in no foolishness. When you close this, you got no problems. All right. 21:31. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory is the Lord. Okay, all that stuff you doing, all that preparing and stuff, you think that's why you got the job. You think that's why you got that man. It ain't all of that. It's what God was in control of everything. That's why we just let him do it, honey, because when we do it, it be some foolishness. So some of the lessons for this chapter that we need to really focus on is how God directs human affairs. All right. Even leaders are under God's control. Righteousness outweighs rituals. Obedience and justice matters more than empty religious acts. All right. Pride and wickedness leads to a downfall. All these people that are doing wrong, their downfall is coming. Wisdom requires self-control, because you can think. If you take your time to just think and process, what am I doing? Where am I going? How is this working out? Then you will know that God is in control of that. True security comes from God. You can do everything you can to prepare, but if God ain't in it, if God ain't your ADT system, okay, you can have ADT, but is the Lord there too? Because if you ain't got Jesus, okay. So what I want you to take away from the scripture is, plans without God's guidance are unstable. If you ain't planning with the Lord, it's unstable. Okay. Outward appearance leads to your fall. It leads to your ruin. If all you care about is what you see on the outside, that does nothing. All right. Watch your words. They can save you from trouble. Right? Rely on God for outcomes, not solely on your human strength and your own strategy. Okay. So how can we apply this to our lives? Seek God's direction. Value justice, fairness, and humility in your relationships. Okay. Your daily habit should be to practice discipline in your speech. Guard your tongue. Life and death is in the what? Power of the tongue. So guard your tongue. In your spiritual life, focus on living right rather than performing empty rituals. Now, your affirmation for today. I seek wisdom. I walk in righteousness and trust the Lord to guide my heart and direct my steps. My plans are established by him, and my victory rests in his hands. Some other passages in the scripture talks a lot about how you'd rather be on the roof than with a quarrelsome woman. Okay. And there's throughout the chapters of Proverbs, there is a mention of this quarrelsome woman, this woman that's doing all of this stuff. Now Solomon had many wives, so he had wisdom on a level that most men don't have. And what I take from that as a woman is that I need to be meek, and I need to be quiet sometimes, but I also need to use wisdom in my choices of who I want to be with. Okay. Because if I am communicating to my man, and he sees my communication as drops of of contentment or drops of, anxiety, or if I'm triggering him in some kind of way, then either we are not connected or there's something that I'm doing wrong. Okay. So we need to figure that out before we decide to be with these people, right? So there's mention, and I know a lot of women feel some kind of way about, they feel triggered when they hear a lot of those statements, but this is just wisdom. He learned a lot because he was married to, and here's the other thing, he was married to many women that were not following Yahweh. Okay, these women were having different types of guys. And so he learned a lot. So that's why he can talk about being on the roof. Okay, you should be on the roof because you ain't even with the woman that loves the Lord like you do. Okay, so that's your problem. So it's all about being equally yoked. Okay, so that's a lot of the issue that I take with, or a lot of the wisdom that I take from those proverbs, is to be equally yoked, because you won't see it like that. You won't have the quarrelsome. You won't, if you're using wisdom in the person that you choose, you won't have a lot of that conflict. Okay, so I just want you all to walk away with that, because I know I didn't mention those verses throughout this during this chapter, but it is mentioned, but using wisdom in all that you do when it comes to your relationships with, your possible significant other, using wisdom when it comes to your job, using wisdom as it comes to, anything you do with people, anything you do in life, you need to use wisdom. Seeking wisdom is the beginning of loving God and having that relationship with Him. Okay. So these are your spiritual nuggets for the 21st day. Okay, the 21st chapter. Let's get it. Let's get this day going. Everybody.